Right side, the 10 to the 5, touchdown! 6, going to the hoop, puts it up, puts it in! A fantastic play.
Welcome to the Magnolia Field podcast from the Richard Schwartz and Associates studios. I'm Tanner Marlar, as always, alongside Cody Blaszszak. And Cody, we do it every week, so let's go ahead and just dive right in. Week 5 reactions last week of non-divisional play for a lot of teams, and we have got a lot to get to. First up, the Braves, Tishomingo County, TikTok's favorite team. They're 5-0, Cody.
You might need to get some more flowers, buddy.
No. At this point, we have an understood agreement that I'm going to keep picking against
You picked them last week, and they still won.
I thought I picked against them.
No, you decided to pick them because you were trying to reverse psychology it.
Oh. I thought I picked against them. We'll have to go back and look. Roll the tape. But anyway, they're 5-0. It's their first 5-win season since 2010. And that might not sound like a lot on paper. That's over the entire season in 2010. We're just in week 5.
They're on a roll.
The Braves are rolling. They've got, again, new coaching staff. I didn't believe it when they said there was a new vibe around TC, and there apparently is.
They've only got one possession win, too. The rest are by multiple possessions. Yeah, so it's not like they're just getting lucky with these wins. They're having themselves quite a season.
Yeah, and they've got a tough one this week, though. I mean, they face Amory.
They do.
Emmanuel
is this
Randall,
your time
Braden Moranto.
Are you right this week?
I think.
If you did pick against them last week, you're 0 for 5 with them.
Well, I'm just telling you, we've seen Amory. We saw them put up 51 against Aberdeen. Granted, Aberdeen not great. We saw them put up 51 points, and they did not play well in the first quarter. I think if they come out ready to play, they might score 60.
This is another game for Tish, though, that is at home. So they've got that crowd in their favor. I mean, it feels like this is their game to lose.
I don't know. I think this is Amory's game to lose.
Well, maybe it's both ways. I mean, Tish has been on a roll.
They have. And don't get me wrong, like they have played good, and this is the best Tish County has looked. Again, as we were talking about before the show, in a long time.
Before I was even in this state.
Pretty much, yeah.
So I took Tish the past couple of weeks for the sake of I was tired of being wrong.
Yeah.
However, I'm not picking them this week.
You're not? No. You got Amory in this one?
I do have Amory
I also have Amory in this one. If they beat Amory, they're legit.
Hats off.
They are legit. And they could make, I think at that point, they become the favorite for second in that division behind Itawamba.
Well, and they get them for the season finale.
Yeah, they get them at the end of the year.
You're on a 9-game heater by then. It's anyone's game.
And that's another thing. It's tough to win that many games consecutively.
It is.
So
they're halfway there, though. They're over halfway there.
They are. I think you got to take a couple lumps eventually. I think they take one this week against Amory.
I think losing wouldn't be bad for them either to figure out what's going wrong and maybe correct it later on in the season.
And that Moorville game was pretty close too. It was only 10 points.
Yeah, I mean, high scoring game, 40-30, but you want to lose a close one. You don't want to get thumped. But losing a close one might benefit you later in the season.
I agree. So I've got Amory in that one this week. But Tish County, 5-0. Speaking of another undefeated team, New Albany. I actually got the chance to talk to New Albany basketball coach earlier this week, Scotty Shettles. His son, Braden, is a quarterback. And he and I were both just kind of chatting it up about this New Albany team. And Shettles, his son, has got them rolling. They are undefeated again for the first. I think this is their first undefeated start since 2010. 2010 becoming a popular year. This episode that season they went 13-1 and lost to Lafayette in the 4A North half matchup. I don't know if we don't see a similar deep run out of New Albany this year.
I mean, they look good. Don't get me wrong; they've been playing very, very well. Close one. this past week on Thursday.
Yeah.
Between Pontotoc, 29-26, but you get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, you beat Pontotoc, who at that point looked good as well. And I know the TikTok comments has been clamoring for Pontotoc, and we'll get there, I promise. But I think that this New Albany team is dangerous. I think they've proven they're dangerous. I think they could really shock a lot of people, and I think Braden Shettles is a wonderful, fantastic quarterback.
I think he's just a phenomenal dual sport athlete.
Yeah, I mean, he's a phenomenal athlete.
But yeah,
period.
just very athletic kid. A lot of fun to watch in whichever sport he's playing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're in the right direction.
They are. And we're hoping to get to a New Albany game before the end of the season to watch that team in action. But yeah, Bulldogs 4-0. 4-0. And again, they're in 4A, which we know who the king of 4A is, but we've also seen, as evidenced by last week and what we'll get to later in the show, that they're not bulletproof.
That they are not.
They're not bulletproof.
But what I will say about that is there are not many teams in the state of Mississippi that have a weapon like Noxubee County does.
No, there's not.
And that is the one reason they are not bulletproof. One of the biggest, if anything.
I wasn't impressed with the secondary either.
That too. We can get on the same page.
I was going to say, we'll get to that in a second. Another big one. Calhoun City and East Webster last week. Both teams go into this one undefeated. Calhoun City has had zero competition this entire season. Then they run into East Webster, and what a game for Harlan Pittman.
And I will say this, Tanner, we had two teams out of the 70 we covered to go undefeated. They both lost this past weekend. Calhoun City and Louisville.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely crazy.
I mean, New Albany also, of course, undefeated. But, I mean, like you said, two teams that we've been super high on that were undefeated coming into this one. And Calhoun City drops it by 8. Louisville drops it by a lot more. But nonetheless, I think this is kind of what we expected it to be, a low-scoring game. East Webster, Calhoun City, they're going to run the ball. And we get East Webster this week. And I think this is the perfect kind of win for East Webster ahead of the competition they've got Friday.
Well, and like you mentioned it too, Harlan Pittman for Calhoun City, the 4 picks.
That's huge.
It's not a way to win a game.
That's huge.
Yeah. I mean, you go 3 of 10 and 4 of your 7 incompletions or turnovers. It's just not a winning formula.
Yeah. Can't have it. Can't have it. And this is why I think, of course, we see Calhoun City likes to keep it on the ground, and rightfully so.
And I imagine going forward against a team of that competition, they will not be throwing it very much.
No.
Maybe a couple of times. I'm not sure they'll throw it 10 times.
But when they get into the playoffs in 2A, I think they're going to be able to ride that running game all the way to the promised land. So East Webster jumps up into 3A, and ever since East Webster's jumped up into 3A, they've made a lot of noise. And
looking to make even more noise Friday.
Yeah, 100%. Last reaction of this segment, the last week's game of the week. We got to watch KaMario Taylor do his thing.
Game of the year.
Game record, dude. KaMario Taylor. I mean, you have to plan your entire defense around him, and even then, it might not be enough.
Upset of the year. I mean, it was just incredible to watch the kid. 160 in the air, just over 190 on the ground, 2 touchdowns on the air, and then 2 on the ground as well. Dude can play.
Yeah.
He showed that he can play and single-handedly just took on that Louisville defense and just put them into the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, just ran over people.
And I think a lot of this goes on the Louisville secondary because they are not as good as they have been in years past. And I think that was evidenced last Friday. KaMario Taylor, they didn't do anything special. They threw fade routes. They threw end zone fade routes, and guys went up and made plays. And Louisville could not play clean enough in the defensive backfield to stop it because there were so many defensive PI penalties.
You saw on the screen just a moment ago, 11 of 28 in that game. Just to make this clear, it was very rainy the entire game. On top of the fact, KaMario Taylor connected on his first pass and then had 11 straight incompletions with a handful of them. I'm not going to say all of them, but there were quite a bit that hit his receivers in the hands. It was wet, though, so don't let that 11 of 28 tell you that Louisville's secondary was just breaking up passes.
And his arm wasn't perfect in that first half. He threw some balls in that first half that weren't great.
Yeah, some that weren't great, some that the receivers should have had. Just a little combination, I think, of the receivers, the weather, and KaMario Taylor. But the adjustment was made, and boy, did he come out in that first drive in the second half and just kind of put the dagger in at that point.
Absolutely. It was fun to watch. Watch. Hopefully Mississippi State can hold on to it. We'll talk about
Bulldogs.
We'll probably talk about that a little bit next week. That's about all the time we got for the first segment. We're going to come back and talk some volleyball here from the Richard Schwartz and Associates studios. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this break.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, you know who to call. Call me. Remember, one call, that's all.
Welcome to the Richard Schwartz and Associates Magnolia Field Studios. One call, that's all.
Back here from the Richard Schwartz and Associates studios, Tanner Marlar alongside Cody Blaszszak. If you're just joining us, and we just got done kind of looking at our Week 5 reactions, and like usual, let's give the other few sports some shine. Volleyball is picking up. We got to watch a great match Monday night here on the Max Out Sports Network.
Yeah, it was fun. It was unexpected in the sense that it was a blowout, and then it wasn't.
Yeah. I mean, Nettleton versus East Webster volleyball. Again, we're into the divisional slate. Volleyball is turning towards the postseason. We're right there, and we're about to have playoff volleyball here on the network. So,
I mean, it is
super excited about that.
What's today? The 2nd. It starts the 8th. So we're 6 days away.
Yeah, I mean, we were right here. So Nettleton and East Webster match up Monday night. We're there on the call. Beautiful gym there at East Webster, by the way. One of my favorite gyms that we go to. Nettleton, as you said, comes out and wins the first 2 sets. I mean, they are up 2 sets to none. And then the third set comes out, and it looks like a junior varsity match.
Well, it wasn't just came out and won. They dominated.
Yeah.
And I take that back. First set, they did dominate. Second set, they dominated for half of it. And then East Webster went on, what was it, an 11-0 run to make it really close. Nettleton pulled that second set out, but after that, East Webster took over.
Yeah, took over, won the next 2 sets. So we're going to the 5th set, knotted up. And I think East Webster just kind of ran out of gas there at the end.
Well, I also think it was, if it was to 15, if you play that 5th set to 25, I'm not sure East Webster doesn't come back and win it, because that's how they won every set they won and kept themselves in every set. It just took them a minute to get going in each set.
Yeah, again, like I said, I think Nettleton just kind of ran out of gas. They don't substitute a lot. You know, they've got Zion Seals playing outside hitter.
Golly.
Yeah, freak athlete.
I mean, if you want to watch
Freak
some power and someone who can jump, go watch her.
She's listed at what, like 5'6"? I don't buy it. I think she's about 5'4", 5'5", and has a vertical through the roof. She was fun to watch.
Electric.
Yeah. And then Chloe Humble, who I think is one of the better setters we'll see all season. Really kind of made her presence felt, set up her teammates really well, but they don't substitute a lot. So they got into that, kind of past that 15-point mark in the first 4 sets, and you could see Nettleton kind of wearing down, slowly but surely. So East Webster was able to take advantage of that because they do kind of have a stable that they keep rotating.
They do, and it wasn't consistent enough.
No.
That was the issue, and going forward, I mean, both teams fun to watch. I mean, that's a volleyball match that is fun and it's electric.
It is.
I mean, that was a really enjoyable match on Monday.
It was. And I'm going to try to find the Max Preps volleyball rankings for Mississippi, but obviously we can't talk about volleyball without talking about Ingomar.
No, you cannot. And if I had to guess, I know you're going to pull it up, but I would guess they're sitting in that top 5.
I'm sure.
My guess would be number 4.
Well, I mean, and this is 1 through 7A.
Correct. Which is why I'm giving here a little bit of space.
And you are correct. According to Max Preps, number 1 team, Lake Cormorant, they're obviously fantastic. They're 34-5 on the season. Ocean Springs, 29-7.
I believe Ingomar's 2 losses were to Lake Cormorant as well this season.
I think they were.
There's a reason they're where they're at.
Yeah, and keep in mind, Lake Cormorant and Ingomar have both played an insane number of matches. Ocean Springs at 29-7, Lewisburg 25-9, Ingomar at 34-2 at the 4 spot. Underneath them is Brandon 26-7. What's crazy to me, Cody, is that Ingomar is a 1A school. They are down there in the divisions.
I think it just speaks to the credit of that talent. I mean, was it you? I think you said it the other day. Anything they do in a gym, they do it well.
They do. I mean, that at Ingomar, there's no football program. So all they do all fall is stay in the gym. And when winter hits and it becomes basketball season, volleyball season, whatever, they're excellent at it. They're excellent at it.
Yeah, they're good. They're 2A. 2A. And
they were 1A for a long time.
Region 2, they are the 1 seed.
Oh, yeah.
Still waiting for their matchup coming on the 8th, or actually it's the 5th for 2A. So it starts a little earlier for the lower divisions. That 7A starts on the 8th. But, I mean, playoffs are right around the corner.
Yeah. And again, like you said, the only loss is coming to Lake Cormorant, which is insane.
And if I recall, they were close losses. It wasn't anything too out of the water.
I don't think so. I think the sets were pretty close. I'm just super excited. Like you said, postseason volleyball is right here. And then we'll blink. Postseason volleyball will be over, and we're in basketball season.
And postseason football will be here.
Exactly. We're almost a crossover season.
We are.
Which is wild. Crossover season, for those unfamiliar, by the way, when a lot of these teams get into the postseason in football, basketball season will have started. So a lot of these basketball teams will be without their football players that play both for a good stint. And that means New Albany and Scotty Shettles, the basketball program, might be without his son, Braden Shettles, for the first few weeks of the season.
Which, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, isn't that big of a deal.
Well, I mean, as a player it is, because I can tell you, from having to do it, it is 2 completely different shapes.
That it might be, but as a sense of a team thing is in it's early non-district games.
Yeah,
you want to win them, but it's not what'll get you into the playoffs.
You do, but it's also such valuable time to get used to playing, because in high school, more times than not, you're probably never going to have the same starting 5 back. You've got to get used to adding new pieces to the rotation. And yeah, that's what summer is kind of for, summer ball. But if you're a 2-sport athlete and you go 2, 3, 4 months without playing summer ball, you're having to kind of not relearn the system, but reacclimate.
I imagine Braden Shettles will be all right.
I mean, I'm sure he'll be fine. He's in much better shape than I was. I'll tell you that.
Probably
he's in
true.
much better shape than I was.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine, or at least he will.
Yeah, but
with the transition.
Well, they've got a big season coming up too. But back to volleyball. I still have my eye on Ingomar. I think that they are the most impressive team in the state for what they are. Lake Cormorant, obviously, a program. No, they're a program. There's a difference between a program and a program. Lake Cormorant, volleyball program. I mean, just ran so well, plays so well, and it's fun to watch.
I would like to see Ingomar play all 1 through 7A state champs and see how well they fare at the end of the season.
That'd be fun. Because they played Tupelo.
Like a showcase sort of thing?
They played Tupelo and won.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
I mean, tell me it wouldn't be fun to watch them play an extra 6 games against all the state champions and see what they can do.
So, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. They used to do something similar to that in basketball. It was called the Tournament of Champions. And the 1As, and you'd play 1 through 6, and the winner was the winner of the Tournament of Champions.
The Super Mississippi State Champion.
So you won the state title for your division, then if you could go on and win the Grand Slam. I think that's what it was. I think that's what it was called, is the Grand Slam. And I've got to do some research on that.
They should do that.
Because I just had a great idea for a segment. We should get and find some Grand Slam champions. Because I guarantee you there's some around us that would be willing to come on the show and just talk it up.
That's an idea.
That's an idea. And maybe we could make a call to the MHSAA, get a rep down here, and talk to them about bringing back the Grand Slam.
That is an idea.
The Max South Sports Grand Slam Tournament. Here we are.
Yes.
here we are.
I think we're getting a yes.
We've got to laugh out of the booth. We'll see if we get some more laughs out of them. That's about all the time for this segment. And Cody, we've got a big game of the week on hand. I cannot wait to talk to you about it, to all of our listeners about it. Right after this break, we'll be back in a moment from the Richard Schwartz and Associates studios.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, you know who to call. Call me. Remember, one call, that's all.
Welcome back to the Magnolia Field Studios, brought to you by Richard Schwartz and Associates. One call, that's all.
Back here from the Richard Schwartz and Associates studios, Tanner Marlar alongside Cody Blaszszak. And it's time, Cody. We talk about it every week. We've been looking forward to this one for a while. These 2 weeks, back-to-back here, we got KaMario Taylor last week, best quarterback in the state. Now we get Caleb Cunningham, by far and away, by the metrics, the best receiver in the state.
I'm not sure if I was more excited last week or if I'm more excited this week.
I'm not sure either.
I mean,
I'm not sure either.
It's against two really good teams.
And that's the thing is we're supposed it should be a good game.
Yes,
they're not playing any kind of scrub. They're playing East Webster, who again we talked about a little bit ago. But let's go ahead and dive a little deeper into this East Webster schedule. They're 5-0. I mean, they've got some big wins too. They start out against UPOR 35-6. Beating Anawaia 41-6, beat Noxapater 54-0, beat Baldwin, who's a really good 2A team, who we've seen play 55-6, and beat Calhoun City 20-12. But Calhoun City is really the outlier because they've scored more than 35 points in every single game.
It's
they ain't no scrubs.
No, they're not. My thing is, are we going to see in back-to-back weeks the teams knock off undefeated teams?
I mean, potentially. The potential is there. Don't get me wrong.
Choctaw County 4-1. Not the greatest competition.
Well, they lose, but that game one is against a fantastic Park Lane Academy
and
team.
It was game one.
Yeah, and it was a 1-point loss. 1 point. So take that with what you will. I'm super excited. And Choctaw County has played good competition. They played Winona, defending 3A state champions, beat them 35-21, and that Winona defense is legit. And so is the Ripley defense.
They've been a bit off this year, and we know that.
The Ripley offense has been bad.
Correct.
The Ripley defense
I
is
don't
just
think
solid.
The defense has been as good as years past.
No, they're not one of these
Still
Ripley defenses
good.
that are going to carry them to the second or third round.
That's
they're
my
still
point.
Good.
Yeah, just not what we're accustomed to seeing from Ripley.
No. But Caleb Cunningham, obviously, Alabama commit, was committed to Mississippi State.
Is now not.
I'm excited.
Oh, I'm excited too.
I'm excited.
Best quarterback, now best receiver. I mean, back-to-back weeks.
And then these are the two best seniors in the state, I think. There are some really good players down south. The Oak Grove quarterback's fantastic, and there's some other really good players. But as far as our coverage area goes, by far the best two seniors we've got. In the coming weeks, we get Kosciuszko, who's got some of the best underclassmen in the state.
We've got a lot of good games coming our way.
We do. But as for this week, I look at who Choctaw County's played, and I look at that and I say that is a better non-divisional schedule than East Webster's. A lot better. A defending 3A state champions on there, a really good 4A defense in Ripley, New Hope, take that with what you will. But and Park Lane, of course, solid. Out of the sample size, I think I think Choctaw is more battle-tested. And I think for that reason, they're my pick going into this one.
And also remember, this is, for both teams, this is
Division.
game one.
Yeah,
division.
game one of division
I
play.
mean, this is a big game. It's not just another non-division game.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I think I'm going to go with you. I'm taking Choctaw as well.
Well, and there's going to be two very different styles of play here. Obviously, Choctaw is going to air that thing out. But East Webster...
Why would you not?
Yeah, exactly. You got the number one receiver in the state.
I mean, there is literally... There's not a good reason. There is no excuse that you should not just throw the ball as many times as you can and see what he comes down with.
This is fair. But East Webster, they're going to spread it out. I mean, I'm looking here at stats. Dagan Crowley's averaging, as near as makes no difference, 50 receiving yards a game. R.T. Moy with 20. Brennis Cork with 10. They can throw it a little bit, but the rushing numbers are what really stand out. D. Bingham's averaging 73 a game. Dakari Coffey's averaging 44 a game. R.T. Moy averaging 31 a game. And D. Bingham has 12 total touchdowns on the year. That's a lot.
Not too shabby.
That's a lot. But they're going to spread it out, man. They're going to spread it out.
I agree. The thing is, in the end, I'm not sure it's going to matter.
I mean, I agree because, again, I just think that the star power is going to be tough to deal with.
Yeah, exactly. It is tough to take on one of the best players in the state, especially at his caliber. I mean, we'll see, but I have a feeling Caleb Cunningham is going to have himself a mighty fine game and a mighty fine senior year.
Agreed. For East Webster, obviously Cunningham the one to look out for East Webster. I'm looking square at Dagan Crowley for this East Webster game or East Webster team. I'm looking at stats right now, Cody. Would you like to guess what his numbers are?
Tell me.
I'm about to pull them up. All-purpose yards for Mr. Crowley. 106 rush yards. 238 receiving yards. 142 kick return yards. 94 punt return yards, 20 interception return yards, for a total of 600 all-purpose yards on the season. He leads the team in all-purpose yards per game. So D. Bingham going to be the guy you give it to punch it in the end zone. Crowley's going to be the guy to get you there for East Webster.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, what we have is a really good game coming up. To make it very simple. And we might both have Choctaw, but we very well could be underestimating this East Webster team.
I don't think East Webster... I think Choctaw wins. I don't think East Webster goes down without a fight.
No, I agree. I don't think this is going to be a 20, 30-point game. I'm thinking somewhat similar to what we saw last week where Louisville was always like in it, but they weren't really in it, except East Webster will be in it.
That's fair. I don't. That sentence doesn't compute to me, but that's fair.
Well,
I like what you're saying.
The score was only 1 or 2 possessions, but Louisville couldn't do anything. I think East Webster is going to be able to do something late in the game.
I think they're going to be able to move the ball.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they're really going to be able to move the ball. It's going to be a good one. I'm excited. Really excited to watch
games, back-to-back weeks.
Gosh, you're telling me.
Next week, we get your favorite team.
I won't even be here.
I know, but we do get your favorite team.
You get to see the Braves.
Early pick. Who do you have?
For...
your team next week.
Oh, Tish, if they're playing Ripley. I got Tish if they're playing Ripley because Tish can score. Tish can score. Ripley cannot. But for this week, we've both said we got Choctaw County. Score prediction.
I'm going to go in the realm of 30. We'll go 35. 35-31.
See, I'm going a little higher scoring. I'm going 42-35.
Cool.
I think this is going to be a close game. I really do, and I'm excited.
It is going to. The hope is that we get something like we did last week.
This is true. That's about all the time we've got here on this week's episode. As always, thank you so much for watching, listening. That's all for this week's edition of the Magnolia Fields podcast. We'll catch you next time, from the Richard Schwartz and Associates Studios.